said I would. Ready? You this, everybody? Ready? Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Studio Rats Live. My name's James Ivy.
And I'm not Paul Drew. Good evening, dear viewer.
Funnily enough, there's 12 people in already. What's going on? For those of you who are thinking, what's happened to Paul? How did he get so attractive all of a sudden? I'm pretty sure the world of the Studio Rats knows Greg Farra, aka Larry North, who is joining me this evening while Paul is on his jolly bobs.
Very selfishly having a life and family away from the studio. What sort of professional is he?
How very dare he?
He's going to... Go on.
I say, as always, you are all very, very welcome. Please keep your comments coming in. I will post the link to... No, I won't do that one because that's something different. I will post the link to the show. So anyone who wants to chime in, join us in the stream, can do. We've got a few things to talk about. As always, we've got some new gear and some finds and stuff. Well, quite frankly, Greg has, not me, because I don't do that stuff. That's Paul territory.
That's Paul's job, so I thought I'd fill in.
Leave it to the bodyguard. So, Mr. Farra, I appreciate that music is not necessarily your full-time gig, but what have you been up to this week thus far?
This week I have mostly been in Wales again. I work, for the context of everybody else, I work for a firm that does timber engineered products. So roof trusses, floor joists, timber frame elements, which is getting James's pulse going a bit at the moment, given his own studio build situation. And I've been over in Wales a fair amount this week, just sorting a few things out at our factory there. But given that I was in a hotel, it gave me the perfect opportunity to gather together some intriguing finds and one thing and another, and also have a think about a gig that Paul, James, and I, along with a few others, will be doing in Bournemouth in the crazy world that is Future Cheer in a few weeks.
I have also been thinking about that with the new revamped End of the Show.
Yes, the show to end all shows.
The show to end all shows. I'm sorry, Ant and Dec, we stole that phrase from you. Please don't sue. But yeah, it's going to be an interesting one. We're in the middle of Cheer mega season at the moment. Last weekend was Sheffield. Sorry, 2 weekends ago was Sheffield. Last weekend just gone was Amsterdam. Tomorrow evening, I fly up to Scotland for 4 days in Glasgow. Wow. Then have a weekend off. Weekend off when you have kids, who knows?
Relative.
Then Brighton. Then a couple of weekends off. Then Barcelona. Then Bournemouth.
The big one. Yeah.
Craziness. And it'd be great to get back to big numbers this time and stuff.
Yes, when we did that one last year, the first time back at Nationals, there was still quite a lot of COVID restriction involved.
A venue for 30,000 had 3,000 in it, so it was a bit
roomy.
Yes, plenty of space to stretch out.
Indeed.
Yeah, so it's a bit of a crazy week, and there is, of course, a studio update coming. It's all getting very real, and people are starting to ask for telephone numbers, and I don't mean just for dates. I mean for actual money. It's quite scary.
The building trade. Other than the cheer stuff, though, James, what else has been going on in studio world for you this week?
Primarily, trying to get because I've had like little bits of time. I've been kind of snagging on videos. So when someone said, "Oh, that's great, but could you just say this instead of that?" Or could you just swap that particular shot out because we don't want to show that? One of those sort of things. So I've had quite productive, but in a really kind of small scale kind of way. Nothing big or anything too exciting because I haven't been able to get my teeth into any projects because obviously I've been away a lot. But yeah, it's all good. Everything's cracking on. I guess studio update is probably not a bad place to go right now. Had a meeting with a new builder, or my existing builder, who has given me a project manager, which is great. And we actually break ground. I know I've been saying this for a couple of weeks now, but we're actually going to stick the first power tool in the ground on the 6th of June.
Mark it in the diary, Studio Rat followers.
Yes, 6th of June. We think a week to get the base dug and pumped in. We then think 3 days to let it cure, because you can't just assume that concrete's all good from day one, apparently, especially when it's a metre thick in places. Then it's get crack on with the block work, and then 2 weeks for the chip, 2 weeks for the bricky, blocky, whatever the term is, to do his thing and get the roof on, get the windows in.
The man who drives the gold-plated car these days, the way prices have gone for bricklayers in this country.
Yes, because timber's so blooming expensive. Everyone wants
other things. Yeah, absolutely. And they were in short supply anyway. But let's not get political about the reasons why they were in short supply and just move on swiftly. I would be intrigued, and this is really getting into the weeds, ladies and gentlemen. 3 days to cure a metre thick lump of concrete, I think might be a bit shy based on the amounts of times that we've been given to some of the works we've done at our places.
I kind of said a week. I said a week of downtime.
Yeah.
But when I said I want the outside finished, as in walls up, windows in, roof on, watertight, lockable.
Yes.
By the school holidays, nobody balked.
Good. Yeah,
so,
fair enough.
As long as I can lock up the door and the kids can play outside and it's not a complete total disaster of a building site, we're all good. We're all good. Let's dive into some shout outs and stuff and say hi to people.
Yes.
Jeff Rock is in the room.
Good evening, Jeff.
Phil McNally's in the room.
Phil as well.
And Pet.
How are you, Pet?
Yeah. John Gordon, hello all. Hope everyone is doing well. We do too. Wonder who this could be. Where's the hot boy?
I don't know, but he's got terribly good taste, whoever it is.
Matt Wright.
Hello, Matt. That's nice, isn't it? Go back to Matt's one.
Ooh, that's fruity.
What's on there? It looks like it might be, doesn't it? Yeah.
Very nice.
Update there, please, Matt. Bit more info if you would. Thank you.
Yes, who's in the signature? David. Where is it?
It's that time of the week where James pulls out his plectrums.
Plectri, yes. Beautiful things. I've been using these on a. I'm doing some more stuff with Rex on his kind of remake the classics that no one's heard kind of project. And those and the Dan Electro sound amazing. I mean, it's in half bright, but that's kind of what we wanted.
Yeah.
So
I was thinking on a related subject in terms of brightness. Have either you or Paul attempted using one of David's wonderful plectrums to recreate a Brian May sound? Because he's a man who likes using a coin, isn't he? He
is, but I think you'd have to use the blunt end, because he plays with a sixpence and it's not filed or anything. It's round. It's just plays with a round. So I think
I wondered if it was the metal on metal that induced the the big spike though.
Yeah, I don't know.
Worth a go anyway. Have you got any? Either you or he got any guitars that will do out of phase?
No, not at the minute. But I do. I know, but I do have those other pickups, the other Kinman pickups.
Yeah. And is the selector on that got that option?
It's certainly
a 7-way selector on that set.
It's certainly a lot more involved than the one that we installed during the 12-hour live stream
marathon. Yeah. In fact, I think we should give it its full name: the now legendary 12-hour marathon.
You're too kind. I might have to have a look into that, because I think that would be interesting. If not, I have always wanted a Brian May style, one of his Brian May Guitar Company guitars.
And they're not crazy money either. I think you get change from £800 brand new in the UK.
Well, I found one in when we were guitar shopping. I was so gutted. It was on the wall, on the second-hand wall, and I went, "Oh, black one. I'll have that when we come out." We came out and it was gone. It's like
gone. Yeah. Snooze, you lose.
Yes, indeed.
You waited, and the hammer fell, if you will.
How dare I? Yes. Dave Olson, evening, guys. Welcome, Greg.
Thank you very much, Dave.
Greg.
Place to keep videos. Is that the novelty name change every week? Is that the same person?
Possibly, but I like the flag. I think that's quite creative. I like that.
Nice, well done.
Mark Effects is in. Greetings, Mark.
Given that I don't get absolutely every minute, does Marky Effects create his own effects?
I don't know. I would hope so. I don't know.
Let us know, Mark. Let us know, mate.
Jerome's in. Wow, the previous studio was awesome, so I can't wait to see James's next studio. This one is going to be a step up, a serious chunk up in space stuff.
And a big step down initially to get down to foundation level. It's going to be a monster, Jerome. It's going to be good fun, this. It'll be an interesting watch over the next few weeks and months. Videos, of course, will be forthcoming. They might not all be beautifully shot multicam efforts like we try to put out, but there could be a lot of iPhone footage going into these videos. But hey, who knows? I think it'd be worth it. Well, God, the telephone numbers I'm currently transferring to people are scary. So, Keith's in the house. Afternoon, stroke evening. Hello, Keith, and Sam Shepherd. Hello.
Yep, Shep's in.
Is a cloud lifter really necessary?
Oh, is a cloud lifter really necessary to have when buying an SM7B? Okay, an SM7B is a dynamic mic, and they are quite low output. So you don't necessarily need to get a cloud lifter, but some form of inline booster, I would say, is a very, very good thing. Studio Spares in the UK do a similar thing called Effect Pre, and I think it's about $30. And in my experience, it sounds every bit as good as the cloud lifter, the FET head, all of those sort of thing. So check out the FET Pre. It's the same sort of thing, sort of like an inline. It looks like a sort of slightly fat XLR to XLR joiny blocky thing. Well worth it. Do you need one? No. Would I advise you use one? Defo.
One of those purchases that isn't exciting, doesn't get the pulse going, but is money well spent.
Yes, and of course, if you find the signal's too hot, if you end up recording a trumpet or a vocalist that like a real screamo vocalist, just take the inline pre out. It does do other things. It does change impedance and does some cleverness with your mic pre's. It just sounds better, in my opinion.
Good stuff.
Here we go. Oh, there's a new name.
JJ UK Strat fan.
Yes, we'll go with that.
As in JJ Tubes.
Lovely.
Who knows?
Who knows?
Dave, there's ridge on the side.
It's the ridge on the side of the sixpence coins that helps with the. We should put in quotes with Brian Mays.
Yes.
Also have a
white
limited edition special.
Nice.
Ooh, nice.
And was that part of the inspiration, Dave, to get you going with your plectri, or did you have other parts of the range before you started on the coins?
Yeah.
If you've gone as far as a limited edition BMG.
Yes, I mean I really like those Brian May guitars. Because I think there have been 3 different incarnations. There was the Guild one.
Guild, yeah.
Or was it Burns, then Guild?
Burns, yeah. And then he's got his own shindig, hasn't he? Yeah.
And
there's another model as well that is there's some lass. I think
there's a tiny. There's a baby, isn't there? There's a uke version, which I quite like the idea of.
Yeah. No, it is tempting, isn't it? Excuse my rush. How are you? Yeah, bother.
We're all good. Duncan Mitchell's in. Evening.
Hello, Duncan.
There we go. That is my 1966 335. Oh, Samba Johnny Marr. Bought it as my first serious guitar, which I toured with in the early 90s. My pride and joy. I tell you what, mate, that would be my pride and joy. 335 with a big speed signed. Oh,
tasty.
Yummy. Duncan, I think we're all having sort of finger trouble tonight, aren't we, with texts and messaging and stuff.
What brand is that?
I want to say a Jag Stang. No, maybe not. It's definitely some kind of jazz mastery, jaguary type thing.
Fill us in, Duncan. Let us know, mate.
It's Jerome.
Hello, Jerome.
Just the YouTube name.
Fair enough.
Fair enough. So we again, I was going to say we. It clearly isn't my work. It's Greg's work. Tell us about your ideas for some, but let's call them rat points.
Yeah, why not? Let's call them that.
We transferred because we're not that sort of gig, but
yeah. Plus, Paul spent all the quaffers on taking his family for a holiday. A nice fortnight in a static caravan on Filey Beach on the east coast of England.
Probably not far out. I think it's the week he was going to the Isle of Wight, so actually
right.
you're really not far out.
Fair enough. Yeah, so there's nothing up for grabs other than the respect of your peers and fellow Studio Rat fans. But let us know in the comments, what is the gig or session that you've been doing this week that has been the most interesting? And we'll have a read through. James and I will arbitrarily decide which two sound the most intriguing, and then you can vote for which one you prefer, and that person will be the inaugural winner of a hearty slap on the back.
Well done.
Yes, yes. And perhaps a Studio Rat's clap, as is the way when the super chats come through.
Yes, yeah, a hearty well done, pat on the back, and a little ripple.
Yes, yeah, and perhaps even we'd start a list, and then maybe when we figure out the legalities of it all, some Studio Rats merch at some point in about 6 months, once we've actually scratched our heads long enough to figure it out.
Well, we've
one
got
of those T-shirts or something.
We've got merch.
Yeah.
Where I was wearing mine the other day. I mean, because obviously it's been roasting most of this week, so I haven't. But most of this week, my stepdad, if I call him that, said to me, "I'd like one of those, please." I said, "Well, you know, we don't carry stock. It is made to order." So no, I didn't think you did for a moment, but hey, you know. So Duncan Mitchell says it's a great guitar. Of course it is. We knew that.
Lovely. Nice.
Oh, cheers,
Winnipeg, Manitoba. Oh. Lovely. The home of the remarkable Brothers Landworth.
Yes, indeed.
Very good. Whose new album, by the way, do yourselves a favour, ladies and gents. Delightful.
Jazz Master style, but Gray's guitar version. Very, very nice. Like
tasty.
That right. If you're ever near Nottingham, you're welcome to come and try the 335.
You're on your way to Glasgow soon, aren't you, James? You just stop in at Nottingham.
Well, I am flying.
Slightly more awkward. There's an airport in Nottingham.
East Midlands. That's
close enough for jazz.
Yeah.
Relative to Winnipeg, Manitoba.
Is East Midlands the one that's next to the racetrack, next to Donington? Or is that?
Yeah, that sounds about right.
That's the one. Yeah. Yeah. I'm actually in Nottingham quite a bit because one of my best mates is in Nottingham, and Sheffield's not a million miles to Nottingham, so
there's got to be some reason to nip to Nottingham.
Quite frankly, to
66 waiting for you.
Quite frankly, to make that video with Matt's guitar is probably enough.
Definitely. Yeah.
I might sleep on that.
Okay, guys. Here we go.
Small pedalboard build in progress. Currently have Peterson Strobe Stomp HD tuner, BB preamp, D&M drive, collider and delay and reverb, MXR ISO brick. Looking for a compressor. Any suggestions?
Keeley, Ross.
Keeley would be my first shout because Paul loves his Keeley compressor. I'm building a compressor, a Fuzz Dog one at the minute, which is sort of 3 or 4 really cool compressors in one unit. The other compressor, it's not strictly speaking a guitar compressor because it's made by what they call hang on Dark Glass Electronics, as in amp manufacturer, but they do the best compressor in a pedal. In fact, if they made a rack unit of it, they would sell gazillions of them. It's that good.
Nice.
And I can't remember what it's called, but if you look for Dark Glass compressor, I would seriously check it out. So it's not your standard. It's basically either an opto or a FET or a studio style compression. It doesn't just do the whole kind of It doesn't just do the standard kind of guitar type compression,
Mm-hmm.
but it is very, very good and well worth a listen.
What about the Hampstead one? There's a blend on that, I think, that Mr. Steinhardt was quite enthusiastic about. And since you've got a D&M drive, I'm assuming that you're aware of their thoughts on that. And then if you want to go seriously compressed, the slide rig, a compressor that then hits another compressor.
Yes.
Plenty of compression happening there.
Yes.
But I'm guessing, I suppose small is the key. So maybe you would just stick with the Keeley. I think from memory that is a small box, or relatively small box.
The TC one was very, very good. I remember TC electronic one, but I can't remember the name of it for the life.
No, that's not going to come to me. The TC one.
No, either.
I suppose what sort of stuff are you doing, Jason? I can't really tell from your logo thing there what kind of oeuvre you're going for.
Well, to be fair, the Boss compression sustainer.
Yeah,
it's the classic that everyone kind of. It's almost like the Boss stuff. That's people's default, their de facto. You start with that, and then you move on to other things.
Yep. Has that got the buffer in it as well? I don't know if that Peterson tuner's got a buffer in it, but if you were then going to slap the compressor straight after that, would you then get the buffer to start the signal, as it were? And then I think the Collider has got one on the way out. So if you're of the Mason Marangella school of let's keep buffers involved front and end, as it were, you've got that covered as well. Yeah. What sort of thing do you want to use it for, Jason? That might help narrow it down.
But I think generally a Keeley's not a bad shout, though.
Yep, stood the test, hasn't it?
Yeah. Duncan Mitchell, it's called a skipper. Oh, nice.
It's a lovely thing.
Beautiful.
It's a lovely thing.
Jeff Rock, Andrew Guyton was making red specials at one time. I did inquire. Wow. Yeah.
Well, but good luck, everyone.
8.5 grand with a 3-year wait. Yeah, that's don't get me wrong, that's a beautiful guitar, but too rich for my.
Yeah, defo wants to be at that price point, doesn't it? Good day to you, Keith.
Yes, running late but sounding great, hopefully.
All good, mate.
Place to keep videos. I have a fly gig coming up in October in Puerto Rico. Nice. And I'm trying to choose proper kit to take with me. I have
Helix.
Helix floor and a GT1 and a
board.
Component board.
Okay.
That's probably.
Is this one of two from a place to keep videos? Is there another comment coming up? I can't see.
Yes, there is. Here it is. Thought about going GT1, but the reverbs are less than spacious. Thought about running the RV6 after it, but not sure if I would need a direct box after the GT1's modelling and Boss pedal end. Yeah, if you're running. Has GT1 got a loop?
You talk. I will research.
If the GT1 has an effects loop and you can move, I don't think it has. But the Helix floor, basically, you're looking for something that's got an effects loop, because then you could put the reverb in the loop and you're golden.
Yeah. Okay, just changing images. I've called up the trusty Anderton's website.
Oh, and
oops, hang on.
Because
come back. Output.
What you want is, say, in my opinion, what you want is your input stage. So your GT1 drive. Then if you want a separate reverb, put that in the loop before all the amp modeling and speaker emulation, all that sort of stuff.
It doesn't have a loop.
Okay.
Does the RV6 have any kind of emulation element to it in the same way that the Strymon Big Sky's got the Cab M on it? Don't know. I've not used an RV6. Sod's law, isn't it? We've gone boss heavy on the week that Paolo's not there. Mr. Boss is on hollybobs.
Yeah. I mean, the Helix floor has got quite a lot of power to it.
I would have thought that'd have everything you need, wouldn't it?
Yeah,
that was their thing.
I mean,
I thought.
I'm not a huge Line 6 fan, as I have waved my hands around to admit before. But that was certainly the software version was a bit poor, not beautifully done in my opinion. Yeah, I mean, you need something that's got. If you're using reverb, the fact you said the reverbs are less than spacious makes me think you're using reverb as quite a big effect in your sound. You need something with a loop, and to get in before the preamp, sorry, the power amp and the speaker emulation.
Does well, I was just going to flippantly say, what about the 1000? That bigger one it's a smaller physical unit.
GT1
would that do the job? But
GT1000.
I'm guessing you're not saying I want to drop another however many £100 or dollars wherever you are in the world.
What's the new one? The GX, the new one that's come out. The GT100. Yeah, that's the one Paul's loving at the minute, isn't it? Yes.
No, is it? No, that's an old one. GT100.
GX100. The new one that Paul's.
Let's go back to Anderton's.
Loving at the minute. I'm sure it is. Do you not? This is what annoys me about Boss and Roland. Their naming conventions are really easy to remember.
Just dear God. Yeah. Boss Multi FX. GT1 is what who's talking about. The GT1000 core is not it.
GX100. I'm sure it's the GX100.
GT1000, is it that one?
Yes.
Oh, GX100. Yeah, that's the one that's got the 10% discount.
They're about £500-600 at the moment, about £550-ish.
499.
Oh, yeah. There you go, £500.
And it's on pre-order.
That's
got all the ins and outs on the back there.
That would give you everything you need.
Yeah, it's got the ground lift, send return, MIDI, the whole bag of machines. It's
got a loop that you can move inside the software. That would be an amazing solution. It depends how long you've got, and if eBay or Reverb or whatever you're. So if you've got a couple of quid to put to it, that would be my advice. And also, it's a single thing. It's one thing. So for a flyaway gig, it goes in your rucksack, and you're not thinking, "Oh my God, I've got set pedals and all these things that might not work together up on a gig, on a stage, somewhere I'm not used to." Anything for flyaway gigs, anything you can make simple, make simple.
Yeah,
with my experience.
Related, and this is absolutely devil's advocate here. If the Boss thing goes down, what's your plan B?
Yes.
Could you just put an RV6 and a couple of other pedals in front of said RV6 as an absolute worst case scenario?
Yeah.
It's just have sat behind the amp or on top of the amp just in case. Well, I'm guessing you're not going to have an amp, are you? If you're using all this stuff. Yeah, it's just going to be fallback or whatever. But yeah, something at the side of the stage or readily available, just in case something goes wrong.
Have a plan B, that's for sure.
Yeah.
I hate to say the number of gigs I've flown to, got there, the bass player's put his jack into his bass, taken it out for whatever reason, and pulled the jack socket off the guitar. And how do we? I remember minutes before a gig with a plumbing-sized soldering iron and plumbing-sized solder, trying to do open heart surgery on the back of a Fender Jazz.
Yeah. Not ideal. If you're going to the other side of the world, just have another option.
No chewing gum was used in the repair of that guitar. But Bruce Brooks says, "Sorry, I'm late. I've brought my mother."
That's all right. You can stand at the back with what's his face that said he was running late as well. Keith?
With Keith, yes, I'm sure. Right. Jeff Rock says, "Exotic SP is a great compressor." Yes, Exotic Effects. We've got with them.
Is that in a little box as well, like the booster? You know, the little mini booster version that they do. Because if that is a little one, then in terms of the size, that would be a brilliant call.
Major bonus. I want to see what the new Source Audio Atlas compressor sounds like. It does 1176 LA28 and Ross compressor in one pedal. That's the sort of thing. That's the sort of thing that the Dark Glass does. And yes, it is primarily a bass compressor, but it's a compressor. It's there's no real steering them to what they do. It's a compressor. I'm sure someone is going to change, argue about that, but it's a compressor.
I'm trying to find it. EQ2 Ultra Wave.
Keith Axel says 1+ on the Exotic SP compressor as well. Sir Andy Wood compressor is also very good. Well, that's a good shout in from the masses. Shep says recording a tambourine following advice given last week by James and Paul. Didn't use a condenser this time. SM57 broken, so I used the talkback mic on my Apollo. Works surprisingly well. It's because it's not a super high end. Not super high end. I'm surprised it worked as well as that, but if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Paul says Keeley compressor Keeley Comp Plus is the way to go. Got here late. Where's Sir Paul? Oh, don't give him that. Don't give him titles. He's on holiday. He's on Bob's.
I thought Macca's tour started in America.
Yes.
Not
White.
He's doing family stuff, Bruce. He's having a bit of time away from his work family, his work husband.
Jason says, thanks guys, great suggestions. Keeley was on my radar for sure. Cool. Jeff says, thank you, Jeff.
Gravity. Thanks.
Of course it was.
There we go. That was going to be one of my after school lookups. Thanks, Jeff.
Yes. Joe Eon says, your thoughts on the Strandberg guitars? Are they worth the high price tag or too niche? I've never played a Strandberg, I have to admit.
Nor I, and I know it's a very, very basic concept, but I just don't like a lot of them. I think I'd probably spend half my brain power holding onto the thing going, what do I do with this?
Yeah. Where do I put my hands? Yeah. Not. I don't think Paul has either. So it's one of those. Bizarre.
Don't know.
Jason says bluesy fusion, classic rock at best. Yeah, okay, yeah, definitely. Jeff Rock at Bruce Brooks. He's a stunt double standing in. I'm so glad I said that right. Paul says RV6 will work fine after the GT.
GT1.
There you go.
There we go.
Mr. Drew has indeed put in his several
boss trumps.
Go with the GX over the GT1 if you want the loop. Yes.
I think it's already been purchased.
Yes.
Anyway.
Yes. Gal7615. Hi guys, hope you're well. If I use my boss chord, all these boss questions. If I use
doing it on purpose to us now, aren't they, James?
On 2 amps, will there be any phase issues? Cheers. No, you'll have glorious Technicolor stereo.
Yeah.
Be great.
Designed
to do that. Keith,
assuming
no, even if they're different amps, it will just sound big and lovely and fat. Spread them out.
I mean, yeah. Worst case, just do a nice cheap version of polarity switching and safely, don't hurt yourself with electricity, but just switch the connections to the speaker around. Test it if you don't think it sounds right.
Yeah, worst case. You should get a direct box after the GT1. It's designed to go into an amp. So it's the right level. Yes, but what if we don't have an amp? GX100 is the new one. Yes, we got there in the end.
Good.
Good evening, gents. Yes, it's the GX100. Yes. Wow, Paul's hit the boat off.
Nice one, Joe.
Joe, hope Paul's reading that one. Evening, guys. Any experience with the... This is actually Paul logged in as all these accounts giving us boss questions.
Yeah, it's doing it on purpose.
Any experience with the Boss RC3 looper, struggling to get my head around it. Do I need to just persevere? I bought one of these a little while. In fact, I bought a much older version of this, I think, because I wanted to get into looping, and I'd seen Ed Sheeran do it and Katie Tunstall, and I thought, I can do that.
How hard can it be?
How hard can it be?
Hard. That was the answer.
It turned out really hard. I've been trying to. Then the beautiful people at TC Electronic, when they were beautiful people at TC Electronic, bought out things like the Ditto and all the Voice Live 2 and 3, which had really good loopers. But they also had what they called assisted loopers. So it just sort of tidied everything up a bit. So all your loops were always perfect. So while I couldn't do looping properly on the Boss pedal, I could do really good looping on the TC stuff because it all just neatened it up for me. And I was like, yeah, thanks for that. Yes, I can do looping, me. So there's probably nothing you're doing wrong. It is just a case of, you'd think me being me, I'd have quite good foot coordination, being a drummist and all. And I still found it quite difficult to actually nail it and get it right in the right place. When you find the sweet spot for the looper, either just a hair before the beat or a hair after, all of a sudden it will all change. But you've got to experiment a little bit with, don't think you're nailing it. You've got to be probably somewhere either side just to get it all to line up and go. And as soon as you do nail it, you'll be like, yes.
Yep. It's, how much play is there in that foot switch from where you think I've just touched that because my muscle has moved, and that would be exactly the right spot to, well, actually, it's got to do X amount of play before it makes that connection and does the thing. I started looping with a TC X4 flashback.
Down there still.
Still a cracking machine, isn't it? And then the Voice Live 3 thing.
Still got your Voice Live 3?
Still got it.
Wow.
It's out in the garage somewhere.
Brilliant unit.
I would point you in the direction of, well, a couple of things. Point you in the direction of Danish Pete. Look for Danish Pete on various channels. The YouTube one be the best option. He does a number of things to try and help you get your head around looping. And then use the JHS pedals moniker of just try stuff. As James says, try it just before, just after, and everything in between. When you first picked up an electric guitar, did you have a savant moment of, oh, this is easy, I don't know what all the fuss is about? Or did you spend hours and weeks and years getting your head and getting to a point where you are now? Looping is no different. It's a hellish skill. Stick with it. Put some time in. Put some.
And you see a teenager do it. Like, I remember the first time I saw Ed Sheeran do it on Jules Holland.
Yeah, swines. Yeah.
Oh, it's over. Game over. It's funny. At that same, I think I was in a hotel with Benjamin Bloom at the time, and he said, "Well, that's it over for me being famous. Another guy from Suffolk has just taken, the gig."
Yeah. Ben has got a wonderful picture of he and the ginger superhero back in the days when they were on the same sort of build. And unfortunately for Ed, he isn't doing watch along football stuff on YouTube, which is making Ben very happy. So his cotton socks.
There was a post a little while ago on a YouTube, a Facebook group. It's called Ipswich Musicians Past and Present. And someone had posted the poster, a picture of the poster from I think it was something like the 1996, 97 National Music Day,
right?
Music in the Park, and second on one of the Z stages was a kid called Ed Sheeran.
Yeah,
who knew?
Well, he was probably about 7 at the time, wasn't he?
Yeah, probably. Farad H says,
"Oh, we go, Keith.
What's the problem? It has lots of options, but the defaults are pretty good." Okay, this is gonna. I think we're gonna get some more of this. Andy Guitar Live is in. Evening, great to see you, buddy. I only said Sir Paul because I heard a rumor that Paul McCartney was going to be filling in for Mr. Drew today.
Fake news, Bruce. Fake news. Sorry.
Yeah. Sorry about that. Stereo out from Most Effects is wet wet dry, so should be no phase issues. Yeah. I've actually built my new my effects board, my modulation and delays and reverb board is stereo, because the 11 rack has a stereo return on it. So
very good.
Yeah, as soon as it hits so it goes from the Arpanoid into the Deep Vibes. As soon as it hits the TC chorus, it gets stereoized.
Away it goes. Yeah.
Yes, that'll be fun when I get it all plumbed in. When I get the new studio built and everything. It feels like, you know, when I actually do move in there, it's going to be some hell of a party.
Yes. Yeah. It will feel just crazy big as well. It'll be lovely.
Yes. I got the Boss RC5 loop, a great fun. Turns out my timing can be tweaked. Yeah, same for us all. Same for us all.
I was going to say, it happens to the best of us.
Yeah. Some of the better loopers now sense the input and start recording automatically when you start to play. That is true. Some of them also will, so like the TC and the Dittos, things like that. If you start to play, but you then hit the button, it will take what you played. It's got so many samples before what you. Very, very clever. Very, very clever things. Yeah. Steve Milner from Farra says, trying to follow the instructions to set up a basic loops almost too much on that pedal. Sometimes
option paralysis. Keep it simple. Apply the ruler kiss up front. You get the hang of it.
That's why the Ditto, the little, the micro, the baby Ditto, whatever it was called, was such a brilliant thing. So simple. Joe says, do you guys tend to use both modeled guitar tracks and live guitar tracks together, or do you usually just use one or the other when recording? As a kind of rule of thumb, and again, depending on what the project is, my rhythm guitars and all the stuff that's, you know, well back there in the mix tend to be 11 rack and kind of like, you know, fake guitar, if you like, obviously played, but not through an amp. If there is an important solo or something up front, that I tend to dig an amp out and put a microphone in front of it, or use the aux box or something like that, but on a real amp, because it's funny. I think when you start layering up parts and they're quite in your face, that's when you can start to tell the difference between an amp and a processor. When they're like rhythm parts that are well out or spaced out, it's very difficult to know. I mean, these days, guitar processors are so good, so good. It's very difficult to tell, but there is something about it. The big moment in a song. There's nothing like actually using an amp for me. Yeah,
I'd use the valves for preference every time.
Keep Miller, not explaining myself very well. Recorded several loops, but can't find them, etc. Oh, okay, that's probably quite a specific thing to that unit, which I've not used. I just picked up my capo and tried to crack open my Blue Moon. Should I be concerned?
Touche, pet. Well, as long as it didn't crack the bottle and the capo still works, I think you'd be fine, wouldn't you?
I guess it depends how many Blue Moons that is. If it's the first one, probably not.
That's true. Yeah.
Fourth or fifth. And also, pet, do you have the appropriate citrus fruit to go in it? Because it has to be an orange for Blue Moon.
The must and shall be standards.
Yes, controversial. Keith says, Farad H, the suggestion to look at Pete, Danish Pete's YouTube tips is basically tap to start recording, tap to start, once you get the first loop, you're golden. Yeah, there is not much more to it than that. That's what I liked about the Voice Live 3. You could have 3 separate loops and control them all, but they all went together. Yeah, that was quite clever.
Yep.
Getting the first take takes a lot of, you're right. The first loop takes a lot of practice. It just does. Joe says, certainly won't get my hands on one of those TC choruses. Oh, it's amazing. Properly the best chorus. And you whack it in stereo and it just goes to another level. They sounded really good. They sounded really good in mono, like most of us will probably use them. Whack them into stereo, it just comes to life. If I had the dual twin reverb Eric Johnson rig, that's where I'd be going.
Yeah, that would be nice, wouldn't it? Sorry, I'm just whilst perusing the interwebs yesterday for things to talk about on this show, I read that the original, go on, James, guess what year it was? Because this made me feel
the original what? The original TC? TC Chorus?
Yeah, or, the one that has been re-released.
Do you mean?
Oh, have you got the old one in situ as well, or is this your new one?
No, this is the old one. This actually isn't the oldest one either. This is the Mark II. I think they're about 1981.
Try again, my friend.
Newer or older?
Older.
71.
Split the difference. 76. Oh, but all the same.
So that makes it 46 years old.
Crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, I know this because I'm a 77 baby.
Yeah.
At this point, we must applaud.
I thank you, Pet.
Nice to have Greg on board. Space Raider Chris, 30p to share them out on the bottle. James, no fruit, sadly.
Keeping it efficient. My sort of drinking. Well done, Pet.
Yeah, we'll get there in the end. We need to have a Studio Rats live beer session, don't we? Somewhere. A
live drink along.
A drink along live. Oh my god, that would be beyond hilarious.
Try and organise that loop between all the different people with a bit of internet lag. Okay.
Duncan Mitchell says, James, how did you meet Greg?
Many moons ago.
If so, what were you playing? So I met Greg
via.
I've been asked to do a wedding for a guy I worked with at Sibelius, and
at the Haycock.
At the Haycock in
almost Peterborough.
Yeah, just north of Peterborough, but not as far as Grantham.
Yeah.
On the A1.
And the east of England for you international viewers.
Yeah. And my regular band couldn't do it for whatever reason because they were already gigging, and John hadn't joined the talent full time at that point. And so
John, for context, ladies and gents, is another ex-Sibelius, isn't he?
Yeah, now works for Dorico, the Steinberg notation software platform.
And he and I were at university in Cambridge at the time. Not that Cambridge, the other university in Cambridge, doing our music degrees. And connection.
Yeah, and I said, do you know any guitar players? Because John lived with a bass player, great bass player called Andre. We had a singer we were going to use. I was going to play drums. I said, we need a guitar player. And he said, my mate Greg will do it. He plays cello mainly, but he's also a very guitar player. And I went,
he's a cellist. He'll play guitar for you.
Yeah, and we got this gig, and we had a couple of rehearsals in a church in Cambridge.
Was it two? I've only got a recollection of our rehearsal.
No, we had one without a female singer, and then we had the second night with the female singer whose trousers were falling down. And bless you, could not keep your eyes off her. I will say at this point, Greg is now happily married and has 2 children. Therefore, all is good.
Not to that singer, Alan. All right.
She was.
Didn't she get her boyfriend's chauffeur to drive her to the gig, or was that somebody else? Was that a different gig?
Yeah, that was the one. Very bizarre. Very bizarre. But
all very strange.
A strange gig, and as they say, the rest is metaphorical history.
That was the early noughties, wasn't it?
Yeah, we've done several gigs since. Cheerleading as well and stuff. It's funny because the cheer thing, everyone goes on about, how did you get into cheerleading? And it said, for me, it was literally right place, right time. Someone said, do you know any engineers in Manchester this weekend? I went, I'm in Manchester this weekend. What do you need? And as I say, the rest is history. But cheerleading, the cheerleading thing is not necessarily about your technical knowledge. It's about your personality and your working mindset. We were up in Manchester doing a gig, and I turned the streaming computer on, and it went flit.
And
I went.
Computer said no.
I went. That could be a problem. After half an hour of faffing on Tinterwebs and on eBay, and finding that because this was not a bespoke, not a generic computer with a power supply. It
That
had
sort
to
of thing you get from Walmart.
It had to be a proper HP Z series power supply. I said to Greg, hop in your car. You're going to Morecambe Bay, which was a good hour and a half.
Hour and then some further up the road, yeah.
Yeah. And that's what we need at those sort of gigs. It's basically Captain Fix It. What was it you were doing last in Sheffield? Didn't you end up fixing casters on the bottom of display truck?
Yeah. Part of the shop, they have a variety of things that are on wheels, and one of the things lost its wheels. Fine, let's attach some wheels to this thing.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily working out which frequencies need notching out in the room for these gigs. You just help make everything kind of hold itself together so you can get from start to finish. Punters go in and out thinking, yeah, that worked.
Yeah.
And there you go.
And it's saying that an awful lot of learning goes on at cheerleading, I find. Certainly from our point of view, a lot of learning goes on.
And not just learning how to bite your tongue a little bit harder, which you also got to do quite a lot.
You'd have loved
Amsterdam
for that reason, but also for the ultimate. Well, Jen said, "You jammy bugger," and I think that's putting it lightly. So I got into Amsterdam on Friday lunchtime, and thought I'll go to the bar. Our hotel bar didn't open till 5 o'clock.
Okay.
So I thought I'd go out for a wander, as one does. I was on with Todd, so I got my phone out, started looking on Facebook, and it turns out, I don't know if any of you guys out there remember, a drumming friend of mine came on the show a little while ago, Darby Todd. Darby's played with The Great and the Good, and he's currently on tour with Devin Townsend. Monster metal singer. He's got the ultimate rock scream. Amazing.
Ridiculous range.
And he
First heard of him on the Steve Vai.
Sex Religion. Yeah, amazing album. But he was significantly younger then, as they say. And Darby
still had hair then.
Yeah, Darby said, "I'm in Amsterdam tonight playing," and I went, "I'm in Amsterdam tonight. Where are you playing?" He said, "Oh, we're with Devin Townsend supporting Dream Theatre. Do you want to come?"
And you said, "I'd love to, but I just want to get an extra 4 hours sleep in preparation for a long day tomorrow. Thanks anyway."
No, I went to watch Dream Theatre. To be fair, I didn't see much of Dream Theatre because we were in the tour bus abusing the bar.
Why not?
Shit happens. But yeah, what are the chances?
Lovely stuff.
Right, next, the RC3 has a drum machine, so you could turn that on to tap tempo and help you with your timing. Good idea. I think most of the TC stuff has either a metronome or a kick drum or something that you can use for basic timekeeping. That's where you're probably going to be going out a little bit, where you're not necessarily in sync with its idea of what a loop is.
Yeah,
probably. I got a Zeus drive after seeing the demo on this channel. Have you tried it as well? No, Paul's got it. It looks amazing. It looks really, really good. I was quite impressed. It's definitely slimmed down TC tech. They've made it a lot more straightforward. It's not that beautiful die cast housing they used to use. So it's a bit of metal around a frame, around a chassis. But
they're hitting a price point, aren't they? They're doing a thing.
Yes, definitely.
It's one of those. I in the spirit of, or in a similar vein to James and his fuzz dog things, I recently procured all of the bits and bats to build my own. It must be a clon type sound thing.
Yeah.
That, along with a Blues Breaker clone and a Colour Sound one knob fuzz, and the enclosure for them all to go in, delivered to my door for 63 quid. Granted, there's a bit of tomfoolery to be done between now and Glorious Sounds, but isn't it funny that you spend £5,000 on a clon? How much did you get your Blues Breaker for? A couple hundred quid, was it? 150 sheets?
Yeah, the governor was 167 quid, I think.
Yeah. And then an old school Colour Sound one knob fuzz, you're going to be looking at a few hundred sheets there. So you could be anything between £6,000 for those 3 pedals. I know it's not the same thing, but isn't it intriguing that if you look under the hood, it's basically just a few little bits of this and that. Same as a Fender Champ. You know, there's more things in the making of a Fender Reverb circuit than there are in the entire Champ.
Yeah, I had a Champ.
Hey, what a sound! It makes me wince every time you bring this up.
I know. It was a really old one as well. It was a really old. It sounded amazing, and I remember cranking it. My nanny and granddad saying, "It's quite loud, isn't it?" I said, "Yes, but doesn't it sound great?" which is grandparents for please turn it down.
Yeah, stop that now. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. There's a lot of they're talking amongst themselves now, which is great. There's a lot of sorting these things out.
Oh, of course, yeah, it's got slots in it, hasn't it?
Yes.
So you can have different things, but then and it saves them as well, even after you power off.
Yeah.
From memory. Yeah.
The Roland stuff's great like that. I'll look at the Danish Pete videos and the drum machine. Is the drum machine easy to set up? Otherwise, if you turn it off and move on to the new memory slot, you'll lose the recording.
There we are. Right, yeah.
So, and there's a right button, which is good.
Good. Helps. Yeah.
Nice tip on the RC3. You can hook up a computer via USB, loading backtrack. Well, that's a good shout. It's a backup thing. Yes. Yes, the drum machine is pretty easy, which we like that. I'll preserve sound.
How long has Keith worked for Boss?
That's quite good, actually. Right. Joe says, James, what is your magic pink potion you drink? Do you know what? It's nothing very exciting. It's blackcurrant and apple juice.
I was going to say it's the kids' squash, isn't it?
Blackcurrant and apple squash. Because I drink gallons of the stuff during the day. Yeah. And at the moment, you can probably tell in here, it's the desk. I've turned the desk off. Everything's off that it possibly can be. And I'm still sweating buckets.
It's Scotch. We are enjoying the week of decent weather this year in the UK.
Yes, and I'm off to Scotland tomorrow, so that's guaranteed to be grey at best. Right. Okay. So, Joe says, what was both of your first 4-track or 8-track recorder you ever used? Mine was a Tascam Porter 01 with the big rubbery knobs. It had a TIAC cassette mechanism, hence it was good, but the rubbery knobs were a bit weird. Yeah, and you know what? That was, I remember the big revelation for me was taking the tape out and getting it home and going, huh? Where's the other parts gone? Proper scary moment.
What occurred?
And then turning it over for the first time and I was just like,
great stuff.
What voodoo is this? And then, of course, asking our music teacher, who was not the most technical person, but clearly I was slightly less technical than what I now is. Yeah.
I think I found mine here. If I send it to you, James, you can show the dear viewer.
Yeah.
Yes.
Hang on. Let me go. We've had to do all sorts of craziness to make this work tonight. Oh, there
James is using a variety of machines tonight, viewer, to facilitate us doing the news.
Yes. So this is
probably not a bad shout to move that way anyway.
This is what Greg's first. What's that?
And this was liberated from the school.
Is that a 6-track? Is it a 4-track?
Is it 6? It
is a 4.
Yeah.
We had the 6-track version at uni, and we also had a Sansui, which was voodoo 6 tracks on a cassette. I mean, top end, forget it. But yeah, properly good piece of kit. And then I think we had a Fostex R8 at college, 1/4-inch 8-track, open reel. Right. And then a guy, the band I was playing in at the time, called the Fridge Magnets, they all worked at BT Research at Martlesham.
Hang on. We can't let the Fridge Magnets go without some abuse. That's terrible.
It's a brilliant name.
Oh, Lord. Anyway, as you were.
And we did all sorts of craziness. You know, it's when people say, how long have you been playing Sweet Child of Mine? I said, nearly as long as Guns N' Roses.
Yeah.
But no, but they all worked at BT, so they were all older, sort of, mid-20s, early 30s.
Right.
And I was 16, 17. So for a large chunk of my fridge magnet time, they had to come pick me up.
Fridge magnet, honestly.
And yeah, and one of them procured me an Atari STF, a 1040 STF with the green screen as well. So
really?
I think I got my parents to buy me a copy of Notator.
And away you went.
And I was, as they said, there was no stopping me.
Yeah. And they,
as
they say.
At this point, purely because this one made me laugh. And he says,
thanks very much, David. I did actually do the old bonds this evening when I got back from Wales. That was this afternoon.
Okay.
Because honestly, I looked like a ruddy hippie when I walked in the door earlier. But back shipshape and Bristol fashion now.
Fair enough. Should we do Das News?
Yeah, why not? And
you can talk me through your theories and about stuff.
Yeah,
Mr. Clapton is actually playing live again. Well,
it happened. Yes, it did happen a couple of weeks back. A friend in the village in which I live with her indoors and the kids went to this gig. It was a pre-COVID drunken purchase that he made with his kid, who's a late teens guy who also plays guitar, same as Pete. And it got rescheduled by virtue of the plague, and then finally happened. Worth having a look if you've got any interest in EC on this website, though, folks, because
there's some great
there are some decent videos. Yeah, Doyle Bramall on rhythm guitar, not a bad side man to have. Nathan East on bass, lovely.
As is tradition with them.
Yeah. And who's your opening act? Andy Fairweather Law.
Yeah.
And on the Sunday night, the second of the two nights that Pete went to, he said that Andy started a track, made a right pig's ear of it, stopped everybody, and kind of turned around to everybody and went, 50 years I've been doing this. It's just wonderful. Amps to the best of them, doesn't it? Marvellous. So yeah, that's worth a little look, and nice to get from someone who was in the crowd evidence that he's still got it. Because he's got his trials and tribulations, hasn't he? I can't remember the name of the condition that he's got, but good to hear that he can still play. That's good.
Yes, indeed. This one's quite interesting,
isn't it? Just
it's interesting is because it's possibly the most expensive Black Star I've ever set eyes on.
It's punchy, isn't it? At that price point, and this is the thing that kind of occurred to me at that price point. You're in with the big boys. Riddled with toys, though. Power scaling for a start. But then, as you can see, you've got the old USB shenanigans, so you can do your direct recording stuff.
I've just completely ruined that.
That's all right, mate. It's okay. When I saw this one, I immediately thought of, I can't remember if it's you or Paul that's got the Rev amp. That's got
neither of us anymore. But
okay, right. But yeah, I mean this is marginally more expensive than those Revs are that have got the the bells and whistles built into them. Looks vaguely reminiscent of a Morgan.
It's got Morgan looks. It's got kind of Rev kind of features. I'm not sure what it is, because obviously Morgan's normally a single channel, aren't they?
It's very light is one of their selling points. I don't know. It's very, very light, allegedly, as in physically. It does not weigh much. Not necessarily something that I kind of stick a lot of emphasis behind in purchase thoughts. But I guess if you're gigging and you can get the sounds out of it and not put your back out, useful.
50 watts is enough heft to make it worthwhile.
But I'm intrigued just on kind of old school amplifier logic of put a big transformer in it, make lots of sound. This thing's 50 watts and allegedly does sound like a good 50 watts.
Yeah.
How do they do it if it's light? What have they done inside there?
Because that what's it called? The thing I bought, the Cornford, is not light.
No.
Really not light.
Yeah, I'm intrigued. I'm intrigued. I mean, it looks. I think it looks lovely. There's a 6. Is it 6L6 or 6V6 model as well? So they're covering, both of the
6L6.
Right. So EL34. Right. Okay. I love the way that the German website's got EL34 there, but also ECC83s as well. So make your mind up, please. Intriguing, because the last decent sized product launch that I recall from Blackstar was the Silver Line thing.
Yeah.
That seemed not long after launch to be reduced and reduced and reduced. And there's not much talk about it now. I don't know anybody that went anywhere near one. This is a very different price point. Looks like they're going for a different customer, doesn't it? I'm not sure. I've never been a big fan of Blackstars for a variety of reasons.
I like the Artisan series.
Okay.
But again, it was a very one-trick pony. You had to have pedals and stuff to make it do what you wanted it to do. It was quite kind of plexy with the 4 jacks that you had to jump her and stuff like that. So I was like, it's cool, but as a gig amp, it's not very practical. Whereas if this is trying to be an Artisan that's practical with a bit more gain, maybe it could be a winner.
Lots and lots of features. You could cover a lot of bases live with it as well, I guess, given that you could do your outs to desk with all the electronic tomfoolery as well as the tube element. Intriguing.
So
I couldn't help myself with this one. I just thought, honestly, drummers get a lot of grief.
Hey, there it is.
Yeah, there we go. Thank you. I was reaching for it then, wasn't I? Talk me through this one, James. It looks like someone in the car park on Friday afternoon was in a right old rush to get to the boozer, weren't they?
Yes.
And yet they're still trying to knock them out for 300 sheets.
What's
going on here? Help me understand as a non-drummist.
Okay, so I'm not sure I've got much to defend this. So the theory being that, and as I'm sure you can imagine, I did this much acoustics as part of my degree.
Right.
And so basically designing my own studio was quite a brave undertaking. But the thing about acoustics and membranes generally is one of the big things they do when you're first learning acoustics and how membranes oscillate is you pour some sand onto a timp style membrane and you tap it in different places and you watch how the patterns of sand, and that shows you basically the standing points or the null points on.
Okay.
Now cymbals are very similar to that in as much as when you hit a cymbal, you shouldn't actually hit it straight on. You should do a glancing blow. That way, you propagate the vibration into the cymbal, and then it hits the bell, and then propagates outwards.
If Paul was here, he would have switched off already. But
he would have switched off long ago. Yeah, I agree. But so what they're doing with this kind of is they're making it completely and utterly random. Now, I think this is going to sound like someone's hit a bag of spanners or dropped a bag of spanners down a flight of stairs.
Or driven over a cymbal in a car park.
It does look like that. It's not very pretty. I'm sure it makes a sound that at some point in a recording is going to be usable. But that doesn't work when you do it on the wrong computer. But look at that. I'm sorry, that is just. Hang on. Oh, see if it works.
Are we going to get a copyright strike if we play this?
Look at it. It's just.
Oh, he's got a pair of them.
What's going on? The most revolting
raw crashes.
Sorry.
It's the sort of thing that I would expect to see on like a teenage. I've just started playing the drums,
or
drum set,
or you turn up and it's the cymbals on the house kit in the
exactly, that's
horrible, and they should be just no, no. That's just awful. Sorry, I'm sure they sound great in someone's head, but it's not mine.
Okay.
Now, this...
it's the weekly, let's talk about Pro Tools and how much money they want moment.
However, this is going to be one of the last chances to buy a perpetual license.
Right.
A license that you will get to keep and they will not turn off. Now, bear in mind, if you were to buy Pro Tools on a Pro Tools, this is only Studio, so this is like the middle ground one. So it doesn't give you every single bell and whistle.
Mm-hmm.
But 555 quid forever, as opposed to if you want full Pro Tools Ultimate or whatever they're calling it, super duper version, it's getting on for $1,000 a year.
Yeah. God, it's bonkers, isn't it?
It is. They do need their bumps read in quite a big way, I think.
I'm thoroughly bamboozled by this. My livelihood does not, revolve around having absolutely the right gear for a recording studio. The fact that you boys are worrying.
I have just done a deal for another year's NFR. Right. So when my NFR runs out in January, I've got another year.
Okay.
To put on there.
I wonder if they'll come to the senses by the end of that year.
I don't know. It's a lot of money. All it's going to do is drive. It's going to make Pro Tools one thing, Pro, and by that it will be the post-production houses and the big studios. The people who've invested in high-end Avid HDX, like I have, will be forced to sell and go native, which is fine because now native processing is as good as the HDX processing. In fact, the latest version of Pro Tools uses more native processing than it does HDX.
Yeah, intriguing.
Stupid. Now, this was quite interesting. This very interesting, and tell me your theories on this.
This is me being nostalgic as much as anything else for you. The reason this one came up as new product on the Thomann website is that it's a limited edition in white as opposed to the standard black version. But the reason that I kind of brought it up was years ago, I said, I'm in the market for a modulation pedal. And James said, I know just the thing. Nova modulator, TC, back in the olden days when TC was Scandinavian as opposed to price point. I mean, Chinese. I mean, sorry, I've got lost in theory. There we are. And I still like that thing. And Tor, once of TC, now of whoever it is, go and remind me.
Music. Oh, no, is he with them? Oh, he's with
the Oxbox people, isn't he?
Universal Audio, yes.
Yeah. He still stands by that range, but it got canned. Those Nova things. And again, Mason Marangella, the Vertex guy, he's still a big fan of the Nova Drive.
Nova Drive's great.
As a programmable.
When I had a G system, the big.
Yeah.
The G system is all reverbs, delays, and modulation. There's no drive in it. So if you wanted to use G system, you either had used a real amp and had it in the loop on your amp, or you put drives in. And I had an overdrive, and I had a few other different overdrives and used the G system.
I remember that.
In a different way. Oh my god, that thing sounded good. I mean, an absolute mind number of a program to get it all to do what I wanted to do. But if you're smart like that, and I'm not, it was amazing. But this thing looks cool.
Yes, intriguing. But yeah, as I say, just harking back to the old days.
The amount of power and the amount of goodies it's got in it.
Not bonkers, is it?
No.
Not bonkers. Yeah. Where are we up to? Now, the Guitar Butler by Orange. Orange, here's a tenuous connection. Orange spawned from Matamp based in Huddersfield, where I used to go to school. There you go. So the game that I want to play with this, James, and I don't know if it's an Orange thing that I've just missed the boat on.
Right.
If you were to zoom, I think if you go a little bit lower, keep going down. There is an option somewhere where you can actually see the controls, or maybe it is a bit higher up. Sorry, perhaps you've gone past it when I wasn't looking. There is an option for a picture where you can kind of see what these. Yeah, there you go. That's the boy.
Yeah.
Can you just by looking at it tell me what those controls are? I've got them. But,
No,
you know,
this is the thing. Orange stuff.
That's just their thing, isn't it?
This is hieroglyphics. I'm like,
I don't know. So that the start with the lower.
These. So I'm going to guess that's treble because it's treble clef.
There you go. Yeah.
Bass clef.
Good. What comes in between the two?
I reckon that's Q, as in width of the EQ.
What's if it's not treble and it's not bass? What's the other control that you get on an amp normally?
Gain.
That's the one on the far right.
Is that middle?
It's the middle. Yeah, it's pointing to the middle, isn't it, with two arrows?
What's this one?
That's your gain. So then transpose those up to the top rack. You've again got a gain on the far right hand side, then a bass, and a middle, and a treble.
Then channel 1, channel 2 gain.
Volume 1, volume 2. And
what's that?
And then what's her face? It's obviously presence. It's their thing, isn't it? It makes them stand out. It's a bit different. It always just scratch me out a bit.
I remember, say one of the guys, on the same circuit that the fridge magnets were. There you go. Just throw them in there. There was a band called No More Heroes, and their guitar player.
That's a good band name.
Yeah,
better than
they opened with No More Heroes anymore, and they're actually a really good originals band. They had a good, they went into the studio. The local studio in Great Yarmouth was called Purple Audio, I think.
I think it was called Waiting for the Darkness, wasn't it?
that was lower stuff.
Sorry.
And he had a matte amp, and I remember at the time thinking, "Wow, that sounds good." And they were green at the time.
Yeah.
Before they became orange, and then orange. I
was having another nostalgic moment last week, thinking back to a school sports day where they wheeled out a PA, and the maths teacher that was chosen to MC for the day just couldn't get his head around this squealing, just like ice pick sharp feedback that was occurring anytime he put his mouth anywhere near the microphone. So I went herring up to this thing, and they had the present.
150 head, probably.
No, it was a matte amp. It was a matte amp PA. And, right. The presence was on full, and the treble was pretty high. But anyway, that aside, I was thinking that's probably just been flung out. Someone's looked at that somewhere along the line and thought, "We'll bin that." And I bet you that was tube-driven PA.
More than likely.
Because it was old thing. This school that I went to was the same building that my mother had gone to many years prior. Many of the things inside the building were as old as the rest of it.
The funny thing about schools is I've just volunteered to do the PA and stuff for the school concert.
Right.
The school, it's primary school, so we're not talking
kids and animals, James.
Yes, but they said we some of the boys want to play drums in their band.
Oh,
I went, okay. Do you have a drum kit? No. I went,
right.
Oh, okay. Looks like I've got to bring one of those then.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking, all right, okay. My kids are new to this school, like a year into this school, and I'm thinking, right, let's throw the whole thing. Let's put like 6K up and really do it properly, because that way, when little Rosie tries to come up to the mic to sing, and she's this far from it, I've still got the gain and the volume to actually make her audible.
Make it happen. Yeah. Nice.
Yeah.
But it's a rod for your back, though. You know what's going to happen the following year, don't you?
Yeah, I know.
And then it'll be, do you mind just coming in and doing the exams in summer as well?
I'm already on the Opal working group for various things, and I'm already a governor, so might as well.
Well done, mate.
I said I wanted to do it. I said I'd be that dad, and our head says schools survive because of those.
The likes of you, yeah. And presumably you'll be paid in slave labour to help build the studio.
Well,
child labour, not slave labour. It's very different.
Not sure. It's time for the first moment of the week.
And I literally, viewer, did that on purpose so that even in Paul's absence, you would have two things actually in this little section. that would make you feel as if he was still here. So we've got our little jingle in. This thing, James said it earlier as we were just tooling up.
Basically, if it's not a Moore, then Thomann have gone with another well-known company's R&D department and bought a photocopier.
It doesn't look hugely dissimilar, does it? I don't know. I mean, that reminds me of the headrush thing as well.
It does a lot, but there's a lot more. There's quite a lot on this.
Yeah.
I think if it sounds any good,
I listened to a few demos on the beloved YouTube, and it just sounds like a modeler to me. I'm an old stick in the mud for tubes, but there is a time and a place for everything, and the time and a place for this, in my mind, is going to be Bournemouth in a few weeks' time. I'm wondering if the good people from Harley Benton or Thomann would send one over. And Paul will presumably use his Boss machine and go direct into the desk, and I could use that thing. Failing that, I'm going to dust off the old TC and stick an IR box after the back end of it.
To be fair, you could probably use the headrush, and in the grand scheme of things, you're never going to hear the difference anyway.
Well, this is my thinking for the gig that we're thinking of. But I'm intrigued by that at that price point for the amount of stuff you get in it. It's just bonkers, isn't it?
But when you think that another 150 quid on top of that, and you get a GX100,
true.
So, so it can't. It's not bad for a start. It's at Thomann price points, Thomann's own brand, but it's going to be, it's time for another Harley Benton moment.
If you zoom up on that little thing, so obviously a knockoff of another brand that we won't mention, but two things spring to mind. Number one, that is a neck design ripped off a gem, isn't it?
I think so. Yeah,
it looks remarkably similar. But number two, again in Paul's absence, a nice looking bound guitar, James.
Yeah, you're right. It is a nice looking bound guitar. I'm hoping
only from this distance though.
I'm hoping this bit here is sort of shine rather than really bad finish on the binding.
It's shockingly bad. I did some real like high end geek investigation and lots of chrome zoom last night, and when you really get up close, it looks like a bag of spanners. But from distance on a stage in a room for however many thousand people there are in Bournemouth, I think that'll look quite pretty.
Oh, I don't know. I tell you what, if they get it right, it's got Roswell pickups on it.
Yeah. Coil split as well.
Yeah.
It's got a few things going for it on the face of it. It's an old model that they've just done a few little tweaks on.
It could be a 3 letters from an American brand, couldn't it? It really could.
Knocked out in Vietnam, and the SE version of some of those American brand ones aren't made a million miles from there, are they?
No.
So yeah, I'm tempted to reach out to them, as they say, and see what's what. They also do a charcoal version, which doesn't have the Tree of Life inlays on it, but looks similarly pretty. I mean, worst case scenario, they do 30-day returns, don't they?
Yeah.
Might just get them for the gig and then send them back.
Yeah, I mean, that's a pretty guitar, though. That to me looks like as long as it's
stunning, doesn't it?
I'm a bit having the pickup switch. The other side of the F hole's a bit weird.
It's odd, isn't it? You put it there for preference. I'd prefer to have individual, the Les Paul, 2-tone 2 volume. But again, can you really argue at that price point?
I'd prefer having the switch up in the top horn as well.
Yeah.
But again, at that price, who's gonna complain?
Yeah, so I'm wondering about for change from 500 nicker, just get those for Bournemouth.
Yeah,
just for the sake of a bit of intriguing research.
Yeah,
because I mean that just looks wondrous to me. The hassle would be is the bridge, a kind of rough approximation, so the intonation is going to be absolute bobbins. Are the electrics rock bottom and would be a big sonic improvement, but the hassle of getting into an acoustic, a hollow bodied electric to do that change.
Well, as
you'd rather stick pins in your eyes, wouldn't you? I'm sure Gunn's wincing at the thought.
Doing it again, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, interesting. But it's a thing of beauty, but just like in stock, 8 to 10 weeks. If you want one, mate, put the order in.
Well, they've got a B stock one that's even cheaper. But then the question is it B stock for a reason that is attached previously to the Harley Benton?
And they're not going to give you 30-day returns on a B stock.
It's full warranty on it.
Oh, really? Okay. Interesting. So well done. Good finds.
Some intriguing things, and I know that a lot of that is rock bottom things. When you think of the guitars that Bruce was showing us in the now legendary marathon stream, absolutely the other end of the scale. We're talking an entire guitar for the price of one of his pots, aren't we, or one of his tone knobs? But it just the world's gone crazy, hasn't it? I have spent the last few weeks stripping off the finish of the first electric guitar that I got, a Strat-shaped Object, an Encore, a John Hornby Skews brand, as was many moons ago.
Yeah.
And just thinking, what my folks would have paid a couple of, maybe even 300 quid for that thing in the mid-90s. And yet these days you can get something like what we were just looking at for less money than that, with an awful lot more going for it. To be a beginner in this day and age, you're living in a golden age, aren't you?
Well, to be fair, I mean, if you buy a Mac now, you've got amazing audio software in Garage. You buy a guitar, you can be up and running for 1,000 quid, easy.
Yep, astounding, isn't it? I think back to those 4-track recorders that we were looking at earlier. What were they worth back in the day?
Back then.
Yeah, crazy, isn't it? Crazy. Fair play.
Pet says, which UAD plugins you wouldn't touch with a barge pole? The Fender Deluxe.
Really?
It's
rubbish.
That Fender Deluxe should be the ultimate clean amp. You cannot get it to do clean.
Wow. Have they got that so wrong, man? What have they done there?
It's not nice. I don't like it. So steer well clear. Other UAD plugins I wouldn't. There's not many. There really isn't many.
My recollection of I'm going off piece here, but I seem to recall Pet just getting into UA relatively recently, hasn't he?
Yeah.
How are you getting on with it, Pet? Other than being in need of a few more plugins, is it going well? I think it just looks lovely. You know the way that Mac stuff looks nice, and you think maybe I should go Mac. That UAD stuff, it
does work. It just works. That's the thing. As much as other brands, Antelope Audio, are trying.
Yeah.
The UA stuff just works. It does exactly what it's supposed to do. It gives you all the functionality of anybody else's plugins. Okay, you need to have, not that you do anymore, because you could go with Spark, but I would personally, I'd avoid the legacy edition of the plugins because the later versions are better. But if you're finding a pack and it's got we're giving you the legacy 1073s or the legacy Pultex, they're totally usable. But I wouldn't buy them. I wouldn't buy the legacy versions. That's just me.
And the standard thing of, have you got enough stuff to do what you need at the moment so that you can wait for the next time they do their Black Friday and all the rest of it, where they just bundle every man and his dog together and you can get it for a third of the price or whatever?
At least a third, normally. Yeah. Work for boss. Yeah.
If you can get a word in edgeways with Drew.
Tiak was mine too. Porter Sound. Yeah. Tascam for us all.
Quality.
Or Fostex. There's a brand you.
There's one.
Long gone. Keep on. I'll spend some time tomorrow and try your suggestions. Yep, all good.
Time is the key, Farad.
Yeah.
Stick with it, mate.
spent several months at Astral Park in Martlesham. It used to be called BT Martlesham Research, and as you walk up the ramp into the tower, and it was like kind of a NASA science moment because it said research door to tomorrow.
Brilliant. Is this the building just down from Tesco?
Yeah, with the weird tower. Yeah.
This is where my in-laws used to live until they retired to Felixstowe, dear viewer.
Small
old world, isn't it?
We used to rehearse in either the small lecture theatre, or if we were being really flash, we rehearsed in the John Bray lecture theatre, which I remember because it was designed for speech and had the worst slap back echo for drums ever heard. A proper boom, I was like, I didn't hit it twice.
Yeah,
like Eric Johnson have mixed me. He does like his delay on drums. Okay.
P, hello.
Yeah, for the last minute. No, we're here for a little while yet. Don't worry.
We'll give you a minimum of 4K. 4K. Do you see what I do?
Yeah, 4K.
The fridge magnet is cool. It's an oxymoron, Gal.
Were the fridge magnets cool? Did they stick together, and were they poles apart? Do you know what we did? Back when there were American bases in the UK. The first gig we ever did, and I didn't do it with them. I did it with another band. The lead singer put this charity gig on. I think there was about 9 bands. There was a band called Caution Horses, who were a well-known Ipswich band. I did it with a band called like the Day Trippers, who were a Beatles tribute. The Fridge Magnets played because it was their work band effectively, and there was about 9 bands on this bill, and it was good fun. But I remember it being in the social club of this American airbase, but it had a proper huge stage and big PA, and we were like, this is great. But I remember being like 16 and having to be home by midnight, and it was like, boo.
Yeah, mate.
And I think
Caution Horses and the Fridge Magnets.
The name came from that. Caution Horses had a song called Big Bang, and it was their big song, and it was Big Bang, feel the rocket explode. It was a proper phallic. Oh, it was horrendous.
Yes, yeah. I'm not sure I want to be in a band on an American airbase where I'm talking about rockets and explosions, but anyway,
it was a long time ago. There were
this is very Spinal Tap.
I
don't want to stand too close to you guys. They might think I'm one of the band. I'm joking, of course.
I don't think the Magnets forever cool.
Atari ST, brilliant.
Yeah. First, weren't they the first computer using studio recording? Yes, because they had built-in ports. Crikey. If you had an Amiga, you had
Cubase
a block thing. Yeah, that gave you MIDI ports. But no, the Atari had MIDI in and out on it. First sequences, yeah, all the same. We're all going down the same. Those capabilities are wasted on me. Floppy disk games ruled the waves. Yeah,
brilliant. Yeah,
I had a BBC Micro, and
same
I was
yeah,
geek. Although games too, yeah.
Nice.
I've had a BBC.
Yeah, and an Acorn, BBC Acorn.
Yeah, first computer was a TRS 80. Oh, but I worked as a computer shop, and I got to play most of the pre-PC computer. That's cool. Right. The Black Star St. James apparently is a good reactive low, so you won't need an aux or anything for silent recording or for load boxing. That's good. That could be, that's quite a chunk of dough in the.
I was going to say, how much is an aux box?
Yeah.
But then I suppose, does that put them up against the new Victory ones that have got the 2-note stuff built into it?
Yeah, I'd be interested in that as well. 2-notes are really flogging their, putting their stuff in it, licensing to anybody effectively.
Yeah, I wonder if they're starting to see the, in terms of the bathtub curve of we put a lot of money into it initially, we've made some money, let's just try and get a whole heap more cash before it becomes obsolete and the next big thing occurs.
Well, they are very, very French.
I believe it's pronounced Le French.
Yes.
Sensible socket. Jeff Crammond's F1.
Oh. Yes, I remember that one. Well, you had a Ferrati Turbo, was because they couldn't get the license, so you had a Ferrati Turbo. Was the
great stuff.
Awesome demo on Sweetwater YouTube from yesterday on the Black Star St James 50. Interesting.
Worth a look. Yeah.
Out. The Atari ST
Mega Drive
2600. Commodore. See, my first computer was a Commodore 64, which also had
ZX Spectrum in RS.
Yeah, which also had MIDI. It didn't have MIDI ports. It had a cassette drive, and you could. There was an overlay you could put over the QWERTY keyboard to make
Right.
kind of electronic music keyboard. Borrow. Oh god, yeah. There's some sensible soccer. Oh god. Games consoles. Yeah, with the possible exception of the 64. Yeah. 64. It had a 3-track sequencer that I could put notes in notation.
Right.
And I remember doing Beatles arrangements.
Crikey.
Doing all 3 parts. Bass and middle.
One a year.
Yeah, it took a while. Cannon Fodder was a great laugh. I can remember briefly really disappointed with the ST version of Street Fighter 2. It was a shock. Yeah, actually, you're right. Street Fighter was dreadful.
Crikey. We're opening old wounds for Pat here.
My head.
Not to the rev.
Having 2 notes embedded. What size transformers can be used with
Again, this is what I'm wondering. What are they doing in there? Is it some sort of Class D thing as well?
No, it's proper. It looks like it's proper tube.
I mean, everything that I read, I didn't do enough reading, obviously, otherwise I wouldn't be flapping the way I am. But they're saying it is an all tube head. How do they do it? What are they doing inside? Are we talking lots of ICs welded to a PCB? Where are the tube
transformer? They must exist.
Yeah, I don't know. I worry with with anything PCB as opposed to turret board. How close are those tubes? How hot are they running? At what stage does the PCB just go, I'm plastic, that's hot, I give in.
Yeah.
And at £1,000 worth of a drop, I don't want it to give in. Not anytime soon.
No. Relic
symbols, very, very heavily relicked. Yeah, there's no light relicking there, is there?
I haven't heard them, and I probably will have a listen later on, but I don't know why I'm going to do.
Yeah, I'm quite tempted. I suppose if I'd have done any real decent research, I would have listened to that little demo in advance. But there we are. Although in fairness, I'm no drummist. I wouldn't know if it sounded good or not.
You would. I know that. I just wanted to paint a picture of what I had. Yeah. I've got 2 younger brothers, and they were the games console nerds. And I had a Commodore 64, then an Atari, and then I got my first Mac. Just many moons later. Don't all the pros use Logic now? Composing, yes, a lot of people are using Logic. I just can't do it. I can't use Logic. It scares me. Ever since Logic Platinum back in the dark times, it just scares me. The environment page just, I was like, no. If I had to, I'd go back to Digital Performer, which I started on, years and years and years ago. And it's
Cubase.
No, Cubase cost me a lot of money. There's lots of stories there. I bought Logic, but I got UAD and Luna. But that's the thing, isn't it? If you've got Luna, why buy anything?
Pretty. All just looks very pretty.
Brilliant. Those guys at Sensible Software put out some awesome titles. There was a great documentary about the early game industry called From Bedroom to Billions. Well worth a watch. I might have to dig that out on YouTube.
Isn't this intriguing that so many of the club here were so deeply into that and ended up in music? I wonder what the connection is there.
I don't know. Probably, but we're all. I suspect. Give or take a few of us out there, and there's not that many on the stream now. I think we're probably all of an age, give or take 10 years either direction.
Yeah,
I know some of the brethren out there are significantly older. I am not tarring anybody with any brushes or anything like that.
We're a broad church.
Yeah, we're a broad church. I think that's a very good way of putting it. But I think there's a lot of similar memories, similar. if you said, what are some of you guys' ideas on Saturday afternoon TV? I think the same things would come up.
Careful now. I don't think the U-Tree investigation's finished here in the UK.
You're left.
Awkward. No, go on. Dear me. Onwards. Now, I'm going to steer things 180 degrees in the opposite direction. We have fallen flat on our face with our new feature of what's your interesting gig / session this week. If anybody has done a gig or a session this week, throw it in. There's a very decent chance you're going to win.
Yes.
Anyway, back to it now that we've moved on from what we were talking about previously. James, you recently recommended Studio One as a free door. The problem is
doesn't run Windows 7.
Windows 7. How old is Windows 7 now?
Very old.
That's got to be reaching end of life levels, hasn't it?
Can you recommend another one, please?
A free door. Go Reaper.
Yeah, Reaper will run, or
it'll do all manner of
also,
things.
if you need to go on an older version to run Windows 7, go on. I'm pretty sure if you reach out to Reaper, they will say, "Oh, here you go. We'll sort you out." Windows 7 is really old now. Do you remember that huge black laptop that I brought along to a couple of?
Yes, I do.
So just as a means of playing photos through a projector. I started it up for the first time in about 2 years, and I can't actually surf the internet on it because it's so out of date.
Brilliant.
It won't connect to the internet. That's hilarious.
Yeah. I'd be looking at a new terminal, gal. It's probably more significant than finding another free door.
Yeah, and you'd probably get one for next to no money these days. You'd probably get a Windows 10 machine for bugger all.
Less than 300 quid according to Costco in the UK.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
The
Mod devices.
Yes.
Oh,
when you
the
first
Mod Dwarf.
I thought it was a guitar synth.
No. Yeah, the Mod Dwarf was that thing a couple of years ago, wasn't it? It was just when lockdown was coming in. Very good.
Yes. One try.
Who played guitar on that? Do any of the Studio Rats know who played guitar on the theme to Red Dwarf?
I don't know. I've got a very bad redo of it, and the guitar part is so bad. It's so authentic. It's like distortion plugged straight into the desk. It's great.
Yeah, it's
So I'm looking to get the pots working on my Marshall Shredmaster. They're completely stuck in one position.
What happened to yours, wasn't it, Jen?
Mine are equally shot. Switch cleaner, and just keep doing it. Switch cleaner, let it dry out. Switch cleaner, and eventually they'll start to move.
Get one that's got some element of lube in it, so that the thing doesn't travel. Doesn't. Yeah, exactly. Thank you.
Have you tried contact cleaner? Says Keith.
Are you precious about it? Why not just replace the pot?
Because they're all shot, basically. To be honest, I've found that the person who set it up in the best way, so that's fine.
I remember that on the video. Yeah, it's in the right spot, so it doesn't matter. They might have glued them.
Cakewalk by BandLab will probably have a Windows 7 version. Yeah.
Nadine, talk us through that guitar, please. That's not a shade that I have seen before, I don't think.
It is. It's an Epi, from what I remember. Yeah.
Pleasant. Very pleasant.
Very, very nice, isn't it? Yeah, it's all good. That Harley Benton modeler is trash. I bought and sent it straight back. Drive sounds are beyond crap. Well,
that's answered that then, Lee. Thank you. There's a bit of she's meant to be 100% free. What do we think that means?
Probably talking about free DAWs. Technically speaking, while Reaper is sans cost, if you're using it in a professional, there is a proper license for it.
Yeah, you're supposed to chuck a few quid at them, aren't you?
It's a bit like DaVinci Resolve. There is a proper version that you can pay for.
I'd love to know how the Reaper guys have done financially.
Fair sleep. Yeah. Yes. Who's the most famous person that either of you ever worked or produced that you enjoyed the most? Oh.
Whilst you're thinking, James, I'm just going to dive straight in. I did Mother Goose, the Panto Mother Goose with Christopher
Oh,
Biggie.
no, you didn't. Where's your career? It's behind you.
Yeah, he was just a thoroughly nice chap.
Who's that?
Christopher Biggie, the thespian who was so starstruck or concerned about how phenomenal his first review was. This is the new Olivier, that he turned his back on serious acting and had another substantially successful career as a panto dame amongst other things.
Yes.
Yeah. Lovely fella, really good guy. Lots of fun.
I think the most famous in kind of pop culture person would be Kylie Minogue.
Nice. Yeah.
She was
my first crush.
Oh, mate. Gloria Estefan was my first pop star crush, I will say, and rightly so. She was just so lovely, but she was also, and she's a complete control freak about her own career. And I was working on one of the videos, and she came in and basically walked in, sat. You know, I was in my studio type thing, and she walked in, and I caught peripheral vision. And went, oh, that blonde piece walks in, who's quite nice. I'll have a look at that in a minute. She came and sat down next to me and started talking. I was like,
oh, it's you,
Kylie. It's Kylie.
Yeah, so don't stand up.
Yeah,
too late.
Yeah, crisis. Yeah, probably Kylie. There's probably cooler people I've worked with. I mean, Pete Townsend was pretty cool to work with.
Yeah.
I've worked with John Paul Jones, he of Led Zepp, not he of Manfred Mann. Yeah, but Kylie's probably the most. If you said Kylie, who's the more famous? Most people would say Kylie. Nice. Lee Abram says, Jeff, I guess as long as you get the drive sound elsewhere and use the HB for effects and IR hosting, but that means your all-in-one solution is now a 2 or 3 in 1.
Yeah. Out of curiosity, Lee. Oh, hang on. What's he got? Was that a follow-up?
No, it wasn't. It was
fast 4 tracks. Yeah. You bought one for a reason, presumably. Was it just going to be an easy mess around at home thing, or did you have a function in mind for it professionally?
Knowing Lee, he was looking for a solution for gigging.
Right.
That means not taking thousands of quid worth of gear. Yeah, because he's got those jet guitars that he bought, you know, for gigging. My first Best Tax. Anyone remember them? Yeah, I do actually. Yeah, cheap version of Fostex, definitely. Best. There was a. I think it was called the Fostex X2, and Vestax did an X22, which was basically a 2-input 4-track. Whereas the Portero 1, you could record on 2 channels at the same time, but you could input 4 things at the same time.
Okay.
You had basically a 4-into-2 mixer. Whereas the Vestax and the Fostex only had a 1 in at a time mixer, or maybe you mix 2 into 1. Bit, you know, by today's comparisons, it was Lee kind of yes, absolutely. I had an encore track copy. I think Fridge Mag.
Well batted, Jeff. That's very good.
Very good.
Yeah, well done. Sewing the show up for us as we start to come to a close.
That
is a shocker.
Plugin is a shocker. I completely agree.
Who is behind that then? And what were they doing, or what Strat type thing or Tele type thing were they using?
It's the input inside. On the Apollo, you can use their what's it called? Where you get their nice input stage, and it's what the process is called now. Someone will shoot me down, but yeah, basically that Fender's not great. I don't like it. Mine was a Radio Shack TRS 90 and then an Atari 800. Wow.
Tip ring sleeve 90.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry,
I had a Spectrum 128K, and my mum bought me. I think that looked like a joystick interface called a.
Oh wow!
drum that turned the computer into a drum machine.
I mean, a thing, I think it should have been, not think.
Yes,
Just,
but yeah.
Nice work, Jerome. Nice.
CRS 80, sorry, yeah. Oh, Mike Hayton's in the house. Evening all. Finally,
hello, Mike.
Taxi duties. Good work. I hope the hockey is going well. Anderton's videos on the Black Stuff St James.
Okay.
Ribera Mets is still solid state rectifier providing an overdrive. Massively overpriced for me. Oh, what a shame.
How much is that 2 notes torpedo?
The studio or the
either one. I'm talking eBay rather than brand spanking.
They don't make them anymore. The torpedo studio they don't make anymore.
Right.
I think I sold mine
for
900 quid, but
right, okay.
Several years ago.
What about the little
Capture X
size one that they do? Yeah,
Capture X. I still think they're 400 quid. I think it could be miles out, but
yeah. So £1,000 if you're getting something like that, plus an all valve amp, although we're saying solid state rectifier, is that solid state as in someone's just jumped the tube socket and you could take it out and put a tube in and make it a tube rectifier? Don't know. And yeah, and again, I would have thought, based on some of the things that I've looked into with Black Star, there's probably a good number of ICs in there.
Yeah.
I don't want to be too down on them because I have only played a couple in my time.
Nedamido, thank you so much. Thank you very much
for batted.
And good night to you, indeed.
Yeah. Sleep tight, old boy.
Thanks for joining us. Cheers for asking about my UAD experience. I just need to clock more hours to indulge even more. Mac and UAD just looks so good.
Yeah.
That does. Yeah.
Yeah. It's true. You've gone with the expensive version, but it's just pretty, isn't it? It's all very, very nice.
Although, with help from a mutual friend, I ordered my brand spanking new M1 Max with 1 million gig of RAM and back in February, and it still hasn't arrived.
And that's even with a man on the inside, isn't it?
Yes.
But then it's the same with anything chip related, isn't it? There's a chap that does some consulting at my day job whose son ordered his Polestar electric car 16 months ago, and he's been told that it could arrive in August.
Well, I ordered mine in December, and they've said you're unlikely to get it in July.
Just crazy, isn't it? And it's where are the chips? Anyway, it's not get political. Amiga 800, yeah.
I had a drive with a whopping 2 meg.
Crazy, isn't it?
Rafa says, don't mic gigs count? They definitely do.
Yeah. Raphael, you're about to win because, yes, there is a contest. You're in pole position because nobody else has thrown anything into the hat because James is excluded by virtue of the fact that he is the studio rat that is present here tonight.
Yes.
So his Amsterdam gig, which sounded horrible, didn't it? I mean, who wants to listen to Dream Theater? Again, in Paul's absence, I've got to stick the boot in, haven't I? So, yes, open night, Raphael. This could be your moment to shine. What did you play?
It's not a contest. It's purely for a back slap from your fellow Rat Pack.
But as you lay your head on your pillow this evening, you will know that you've won the contest.
Yes.
Session on
Monday.
Nice.
Church organ. Oh, awesome! I've done a few church organs, and
you might win next week's then, Duncan. This week. A church organ as in a pipe. Yeah. How good old did compose it? Yes,
he did. Very nice as well. I worked on Red Dwarf, says Mike Hayton.
So you must surely be able to tell us who played guitar then, Mike.
No, he worked on the session because he's a post-production guy. He worked on the actual the dialogue, probably.
The pictures.
Well, the Mike's a dubbing mixer.
Right. Well, call whoever it was that you were working for, Mike, and ask him who played guitar. Who did they hire for guitar? You know that people say that post-production engineers have no sense of humour. Sorry, Mike. They have a gathering on a monthly drinking session called Dub Down the Pub. I like. I mean that works. That disproves the rule, then, doesn't it? Well done, then.
It does. He did a series on YouTube, really music geek stuff. The likes of us lot tend to enjoy. He's a very lovely chap, Harkadal, because he was a Sibelius user. And we had a couple of his tracks and videos. He wrote the music for the Mr. Bean cartoon series.
Did he? Blimey.
Cha-ching, quite literally. And we had all that for demo files for Sibelius. It was great.
Nice.
Oh, good knowledge, Dave. Tom Blades.
Good Lord.
Good work. If that's right, mate, then
Tom Blades. Red.
How good was the composer of Red Dwarf? I think he played guitar himself. I know he played the guitar on one of the Blackadder themes. Wow, that's good.
Look, for the sake of this being marginally more interesting viewing, I won't make you suffer a man using Google on the internet. I think Jerome thinks that Howard did it himself today.
We watched someone on Google Googling.
Yeah.
Nenometer says yes, it was a Les Paul plus top Les Paul plus top Pro from 2017.
It is a nice.
Got it for $380. Wow, that was
decent
a bargain.
Yeah. Pleasant.
If you don't want to get a new PC, I'd wipe the Windows 7, put Ubuntu Studio on it, and run Ardor. Oh God, we're in territory there.
Yeah.
The guitar plays great. It sounds great. We like that. We like that a lot.
Nice. Well done.
There we go. Lee says, I work with John Beck, keyboard players. John Beck, keyboard player with It Bites. Great guy and fantastic player. Not famous, I guess, but a hero of mine. It Bites were fantastic.
Bites, that's ringing bells, those guys. I'm going to be Spotifying them later.
The most famous person I worked in quotes with and segueing from video games was probably Steven Spielberg. Oh, he's fairly famous in pop culture.
What is it that this Steven bloke does?
Yeah, yes.
Who's he?
Little Jewish dude. Makes movies. Makes movies.
Films, moving pictures. Very good.
RP1.
Ready Player One.
Brilliant film.
Mm.
Were there actually extras in? Was there a set? I thought it was all done in CGI. Amazing.
Yeah.
Great film.
Spielberg.
Really good film.
Yeah, I think Keith's winning tonight.
Yeah.
This open mic's going to have to really blow us out of the water, mate.
Yeah, I had a Fostex X14. You could only record one track at a time, hence they had one input jack. Oh, yeah. They were great. Good times when we had to work with what we had.
Yeah.
Thanks for the suggestion. I was looking at some contact cleaner earlier today. Yeah, contact cleaner is the way forward. I started out with a Fostex A8 and a TX 3 8-channel mixer. Great for its time for home studio in the 1970s. I remember borrowing some stuff from my mate. He had a SEC 24:2, and I borrowed the Fostex R8 from school, and I did all the drum parts for the school show in an afternoon.
Nice.
You know, it was like boom.
Bish, bash, bosh.
It'll be fine. It'll be fine.
Yeah. Black Star.
It'll be distortion pedal type circuit shoved in there. So, yeah, you're probably right. Yeah. Yes. Not great. Not a great place to be.
I wanted, when they arrived, I wanted to like Black Star. I thought, another UK company, great, but no.
It's not Marshall. Anyway. It's just not Marshall. Joseph, seriously thinking of jumping on the Bad Cat wagon with the Cub 40R.
Didn't Paul have one of those for a second?
I don't think you'll be disappointed. Bear in mind, Paul, and he won't mind me saying this, is probably the most tone picky individual I know.
Yeah. He could have married Kylie Minogue and he wouldn't have been happy with it. One of those. They do some cheaper Bad Cat ones as well, don't they? I can't remember if the Cub are there's the cheaper ones. PCB job, rather.
The American point-to-point ones, as opposed to the PCB ones, are I think also American, but now PCB. I think.
Yeah. So careful on that front, but well worth a look. So I'm going to try Mac
Ola traded his Mac Pro for a Mac Studio and loves the new machine. He revealed he didn't pay anything. Straight swap. Those new Mac Studios, if you don't need the PCI slots, which most people don't, are awesome. And bear in mind, the Mac Pros haven't gone M1 yet, so you're not getting all that lovely juice from M1s. The reason I went the top spec laptop, is because I need to be portable.
Yeah.
I'm even possibly thinking, and I can't say this out loud because the machine might hear, of going back to Mac for everything. Might have to. Anywho,
yeah.
Last night, I went to see a mate play bass with his band Gorilla Riot, supporting Paul Campbell, and the bastard son's playing a motor headset. I know it doesn't count, but very chuffed for my mate. Yeah, going to see gigs is important. Supporting live music is important. It's back. We need to be big on that.
Before we move off of there, Fridge Magnets, and what were the other ones that you played that bass gig with?
The Caution Horses.
The Knob Jockey. Right, the Caution Horses. Okay. Gorilla Riot and Bastard Sons. Now we're talking. You know where you stand with Gorilla Riot, don't you? This is more like it. Right, so we've got a man stood at a gig where the band names are possibly the best part of the evening, and someone doing an open mic slot who hasn't come back to us yet. Was it Julius on the open mic slot? Come on, we need details, please.
Yeah,
we're not going to give out this metaphorical slap on the back, willy and indeed nilly.
Right,
come on, people.
It may have to wait because we are in the closest stages.
Well, yeah, we're running out of time, aren't we?
I just got a base level Mac Studio. It's the best computer I've ever worked on. Incredibly fast, completely silent and cool. Yeah,
that's the thing about Mac, though, isn't it?
That's the thing.
What they do. It's what they do.
James, I hope we're not keeping you up too late. If you only knew the chaos and carnage of the last few weeks, it's yes,
yes, quite. My phone, annoyingly, in the hotel this morning, decided to back up at 3 minutes to 3.
Oh.
So that was my alarm. There we go.
Oh.
So yeah, we are keeping up late, but hey.
Keith says, sorry, it was my boss, but that's the first show for me in the same time zone.
It's been a delight, Keith. I've learned quite a lot from your input tonight. Thank you for sharing.
It's all good. Well, we got there. We got to the end. We got to the end of the questions and comments.
Yeah, well battered, everyone.
Yes. Gregoire, thank you so much for joining me. And
my pleasure. My pleasure.
On this romp through
indeed
the music industry and guitars and effects and stuff.
The world and elsewhere. That's where we've visited.
I too feel like I've learned things this evening, basically to avoid those Harley Benson DNA things like the plague.
Well, yeah, I'll give that a steer. Since we've had two vague entries. I think it was Julius with his open mic, and then Jerome was banging the drum for live music. Where would you go?
I think it was Rafa. Rafa who was
it Raphael? Sorry, not
who was going down the
right. Well, he's physically played a gig.
Yes,
it might be just an open night, but hey, I'm led to believe a chap called Ed Sheeran started with open night. So yes, there is your official copyrighted Studio Rats.
On the back. I think this should be something we will carry on. Actually, I'll try and remember to do this in next week. And if I don't, you'll probably text me and say, "Oi!"
Yeah, come on. You've got a feature that needs life breathing into it because it fell dead on its arse first time out.
Thank you everyone for joining us. We'll be back with the usual baldy bloke next week, who can tell us all about his lovely holiday in the Isle of Wight, in a caravan in the Isle of Wight.
Take care. But a text worth of abuse away, though, dear viewer. Don't worry. Stay safe. I hope you're all well. Enjoy the rest of your week, and we'll look forward to seeing you.
And I'll see you on the other
side. Same place.
On the other side of Scotland.
Best of luck. Remember your haggis and your kilt.
Oh yes. Good night, everyone.